Hi there. Welcome, beekeepers, to another edition of Buzz TV. I'm Brian Race, and tonight we're going to be diving into one of the most critical challenges that every beekeeper faces. I'm talking about pests. Yeah, from those tiny yet devastating Varroa mites all the way up to mice, ants, bears. These invaders certainly can wreak havoc on our bee colonies if we're not prepared, but don't worry, that's why Ray is here tonight to make sure that we can break down some strategies, some solutions, all the things you need to be prepared, the best practices to battle the smallest of threats or even the biggest of beasts. We've got the must-know info that you need tonight so that you can keep everything strong no matter what nature throws your way. And of course, as we often do, freebies. We'll tell you about winning freebies as the night progresses. But Ray, speaking of nature, nature certainly threw some curveballs towards North Carolina and North Georgia, where a lot of our favorite beekeepers live in those areas. And I thought we'd start tonight's program with an update from you, because Mountain Sweet Honey, our sponsor, has been intimately involved in some of the relief efforts.
Yeah, Brian, thanks for bringing that up. Want to give everybody a quick update on what's happening with our Hurricane Helene relief, especially focused at the Asheville area as well as Canton. We were put it out to all of you, and you guys showed up. And man, am I so proud of our customer base, Brian. $11,000 was donated. We went ahead and matched it dollar for dollar. So it was $22,000 that we had to give for relief to these flood victims. We ended up, when you look at floods, Brian, you don't know all what really happens with floods. People have their jobs that are impacted, and they can't come back to their jobs until they have running water if they're in a restaurant, or if they're in a hotel, motel, or even their own homes. They got to be able to have running water, and they got to be able to flush their commodes. And if you can't do either one of those, then local authorities say, no, you can't open your business, or you can't open your restaurant.
Well, think of how miserable we are if the power just goes out at the house for 48 hours. It's like all heck breaks loose. And some of these folks have had none of these essential type of services for quite some time.
Yeah. And so what we did is we teamed up with a New Life Church there in Asheville.
Okay.
And they said, Ray, the biggest thing we need is water totes. And
now, what is a water tote?
It is a 275-gallon tank that has protective barriers that go around it.
So if I'm at Tractor Supply and I see those big plastic
no, I don't think they have them. I don't think they have them.
All right.
But they're mostly used for the food business.
Okay.
And also for detergents and stuff like that. So you have potable, which means you can drink water out of it, and non-potable, which means, hey, you're gonna die if you drink out of this one. So the non-potable, we're using those for toilet water. Okay. And so for example, when we got up there 2 weeks ago, we had a Mexican restaurant with 20 employees. They got 2 totes so they could flush the toilets, and the health department allowed them to open. So the owners got their business open, and all the employees got to come back to work. Just something over $90 got them back up and running, and got the revenue going for the business and for the employees. And also, these were used for multiple homes where a neighborhood could come over, get a couple of gallons of water, and take it home and share it within their home.
And this was all made possible by people who shop with Mountain Sweet Honey, or Buzz TV viewers.
Yep. We had, I believe, somewhere around 100 people that donated, and maybe it's about 150 now that I think about it. And what we were able to do also, Brian, was see, these folks, they don't have electricity either. So when they don't have electricity, they get propane propane heaters and burners in there to run them to get heat. Well, the problem that you have with that, or kerosene, is carbon monoxide. So yesterday we delivered 100 sensors up to Asheville.
The carbon monoxide
Yep.
detectors
Mhm.
that, okay.
And that got 100 homes opened back on up out of the danger zone. You know, you could go to bed and die, with having a heater. And I mean, when we showed up 2 weeks ago, it was 29 degrees. And some of the guys that were helping us unload, they're quivering of their mouth because they're so cold. And so I just want to thank everybody for what you've done. Yesterday, we also delivered dehumidifiers, and to help get that out of the moisture out of a room,
the homes, yeah,
on that there, and they're just going to have to take it room by room on that there. We ended up in Canton on our first stop yesterday, and it was an auto body shop that we heard a guy was trying to help several families right in the flood zone, and he had everything wiped out.
Now, are these folks that are right on the Chattahoochee River?
No. This is French Broad River and some of the other adjoining rivers that go into the French Broad. The bottom line was this guy didn't know us. We didn't know him. But he goes, "Hey, are you Ray?" And I said, "Yeah." "Are you Joe?" And he said, "Yeah." And so the bottom line is, all right, we're getting feedback here, Brian. Let's see here. All right, we got Ray quiet now. All right, so
you're getting fired up about this. What got you so passionate about helping people out?
If I was in their shoes, Brian, I would want some help. And I mean, these are people that didn't live recklessly. They had a monsoon hit them, and then so many mudslides. I'm amazed at the mudslides, and the videos that I have seen of these mudslides look just like an avalanche that you would see of snow, how it ripped down the sides of the mountain. But anyhow, we got there with Joe, and I had a good friend, John Wood, with me, and John goes, "Joe, how many employees do you have?" After we got unloaded and everything, he said 5. And John disappeared for a couple minutes. I just kept talking with Joe, and John came back and he goes, "You know what? You got 5 employees. I got $500 here," and he handed it to Joe. Joe, man, if I would have just touched him with a feather, he would have fell on over. He had tears running down his eyes, Brian, and he said, "Man, you guys think of even my employees, and they're not even here because I don't have anything for them to do right now." And that's the second big tsunami that's hitting the area, is nobody can go back to work. So now there's an economic downfall that's going to be all through Western North Carolina. Now, there are still businesses that are open that were not affected by the flood, but a significant amount was. So again, I just want to say thank you to everyone that has given. My computer timed out here, and I just deeply appreciate it. Now we're going to transition now from the general public over to beekeepers.
And one thing I'll mention is I've put in the comments section, both on YouTube and Facebook, a link that you can make a donation. So if you've been blessed with some extra money, or your heart goes out because you've seen the devastation on TV, people, you've heard what Ray is sharing tonight, that link is available both on YouTube and Facebook if you'd like to help.
And if you wanted to go to Asheville residents that have been impacted by the flooding, just put Asheville. Now, what we're starting tomorrow is beekeepers. There is a lot of beekeepers, Brian, that got washed out through this flooding. And folks, I want to see us put 100 hives. Brian, when we went to Florida on Ian, how many hives? Did we do 10?
At the max.
I think
It was
10.
somewhere between 8 and 10
Yeah.
hives that we loaded up to help
and
three individuals.
I want to see a Mountain Sweet honey truck packed full.
Ray, I think we're going to
hives.
need a bigger truck. So that's what we want.
Well, that's all right.
Happen.
We got 2 trucks, and we'll put 2 trucks on the road, and we're going to go out this spring, folks, in late February, and we got to let these folks get their homes back in order, get their properties back in order, and those that are ready to have new hives and new bees, we're going to deliver to them, and we're going to get it in their hands so that they're ready for the season to start in roughly 30 days after that. And so that's where we're going to be doing 1-to-1 again, Brian. So give $1, we match it with $1. And this is all good. This is all good stuff. These folks have not done anything wrong. They were not living recklessly. They didn't do anything wrong. It was act of nature that just hit these folks. We've had some folks, Brian, that have canceled their bee orders because they don't have hives anymore. And we're going to step beside them too. And this is all about doing right for our fellow beekeepers, folks. So now, with that said, Shasta has been heavy at work. Brian, you got some videos of 2 of the hives now.
Yeah, let's pull this up here real quick, and you'll see over there chimney tops.
Yeah, the Chimney Rock.
Chimney Rock, you are correct. Chimney tops is in the
this
Smoky
is the
Mountains.
North Carolina hive. It has the elk and one of the waterfalls. I can't remember which waterfalls that was. And there's one more side to it, Brian. Do we have another side to it?
Let's see if I can just sort of reactivate that there.
Oh, okay. Yep. There's the cardinal. And Shasta also said that that's the state bird for North Carolina.
This is a hand-painted, custom painted hive by our in-house artist who if you've watched Buzz TV over the years, Shasta does some amazing work. How could somebody get this?
So folks, what we do every year during Cyber Monday and Black Friday is we auction off these hives to the highest bidder. And it always goes to a nonprofit. But this year, it's all about Western North Carolina beekeepers that were affected by the floods. So that's where we're going to put it this year. And folks, Shasta does a really good job, Brian. And there's folks that call during the year, hey, could you paint one for me? And so I've set Shasta loose on doing 3. Now, the 4th one, whoever gets the 4th one can say, hey, I want to have it painted with the University of Michigan logo on it and maybe all the football players around it or something like that. All right.
University of Michigan.
Well, I'm just saying, Brian. All right. Just saying.
All right.
All right. Or the University of California, whatever.
Remember, we don't like those dark colors on our hives. So Cal with that golden yellow.
Shasta will go for it soon as she hears back from the winner of that hive. And so she'll go to work and get it painted. And that one, we expect to see $3,000 to $4,000, maybe even $5,000.
All right. So let me make sure that I'm understanding this correctly for everybody that's watching. During Black Friday and Cyber Monday, there will be 3 custom painted hives similar to what you've just seen, including the one that you've just seen commemorating North Carolina. We will do an auction where people can say, I will pay $2,000 to win this hive, knowing that the money for the final bids is going to North Carolina Relief. And then one of the hives
and Brian, that's 100% goes towards it. We donate the labor that Shasta is spending on it, the paint, all of the frames and foundation. It's a first-year hive that we're giving as part of this auction item. So they get everything they need. And I've been known that if the bid gets high enough, I'll throw in a package of bees.
Cool. So make sure that you're signed up to get the Mountain Sweet Honey newsletter. You can do that at mountainsweethoney.com. Make sure you're on that mailing list. And then come back for Black Friday and Cyber Monday, not only incredible deals. And one of the questions we're even asking tonight is what items would you like to see us discount So make sure a couple of people have already chimed in about
Good.
eight frame hives and
Yep.
bees. Of course,
Bees, yeah,
people want
bees.
bees to be discounted. So we will dive more into that, but we did want to just tease you with that gorgeous fact.
And Brian,
One more time,
we're on for 5 or 6 hours on each day.
Yes, usually 9 to 2, so
Yeah.
9 a.m. till about 2 p.m. So that is a huge day to save at mountainsweethoney.com.
And last year, you were a little concerned about the long broadcast.
I was.
Yeah.
I'd had some health challenges over the summer, and Ray is a taskmaster, and he expects you to be here and be happy and cheery, and I made it. Now, that does bring a nice segue into the fact that we had Nikki to help us, and she was great. Where is Nikki tonight?
She's out with, I believe, her son celebrating his birthday tonight.
His birthday or her birthday?
Well, hers was yesterday.
Are we going to say how old Nikki was?
We'll hold off. We'll hold off and wait for,
all right.
Black Friday. Right. Black Friday.
The black balloons coming your way.
Yeah, that might be a little backdrop for her area.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, good. Well, why don't we get into the main portion?
Questions, answers, Q&A.
We can dive into some of those questions here real quick.
No, what I'm saying is did you explain?
Oh, how to win the free bees. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that crawler back up here at the bottom of the screen. Tonight, to be entered into the drawing to win the freebies, it's relatively simple. All that you need to do is ask a question. And when you ask that question, go ahead and tell us what items that you would like to see discounted during Black Friday and Cyber Monday. You don't have to do that, but that help us do some market research. And then at the end of the show, we're not going to forget. We forgot a couple of shows back. We actually forgot to give it away while we were on the air. We're not going to forget tonight. We would love to get freebies into your hands. Now, the owner of Mountain Sweet Honey, the host of the show, back to Ray Sivitz.
All right, folks. Well, let's talk a little bit about pests tonight because, boy, do we as beekeepers have a lot of pests that we have to compete against on a day-to-day basis and a season by season. So, Brian, let's go ahead and throw up that slide here that starts with ants. Got it?
We're going to get that up here. Go. All right. Very good.
So let's talk a little bit about ants now. Ants are always going to be a problem with most beekeepers, and that's the reason why I wanted to start out tonight with this. One of the things that you can do is organically treat for ants is using cinnamon, specifically the Ceylon type of honey. Type of cinnamon, not honey. But Ceylon is the type that most ants will run away from. And what you'd want to do is put that around the base of your hive stand, and anything that touches the ground, go ahead and surround it with Ceylon. And also you can use enriched flour. But with either one of these two, you're going to have an issue when it rains. You're going to have to go back out and retreat the soil around there. There is one item that we have that's an anti-ant hive feet, and many of you have bought those. It's a bell-shaped smooth stainless steel, and what it looks like is it has a dome like this and then a stand, and it screws in and out on this right here. And so you can level up your hive, and the ants will crawl up, and when they hit this bell, they just fall down because it's so smooth. They can't get a grip on it, and that keeps those out. So if you want to look at those on our website, just look at the magnifying glass and click on that, and just put anti-ant, and that will pull that right up for you there. All right, let me erase some of this here. Oh. All right. So anyhow, those are really the 4 ways that you can actually live through the day with ants that have decided to invade your hive. Now, the second second one is the European hornet. The European hornet is typically about 2.5 to 3 inches long, depending on how mature that hornet is. And one thing that I will tell you is it's undeniable. You'll hear like a little helicopter flying by you, and that is the European hornet beating its wings so hard to try to stay up because it is a heavy hornet by weight. Now, what I have done in the past is taken some regular flour in my glove, and then when I see one of those hornets come around the hive, I blow that flour onto the hornet. And what that allows me to do is to follow it as it flies back to its ground. And most of the time they're in the ground or in a tree hollow, is where they normally set up shop. And another thing is that the European hornet, most of the time, the nest is within eyesight of your hive. So um, it'll either be in the ground or in a hollow of a tree. That's the only two places that I've ever seen the European hornet call home. Now, that blowing that flower on there makes it white. So when it's flying against blue sky or floral in the background or any kind of green background, your eyes will still be able to catch where that white hornet is flying. And it will really help you identify where that nest is there. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the European hornet. If they do get into your hive, your a robust honeybee hive will ball around the hornet itself, just like this. And what they'll do is heat it up, and at 118 degrees, the hornet dies. At 119 to 120 degrees, all the honeybees die at that point. So they take it right up to the maximum heat that they can put out. And a lot of times beekeepers will find a charcoal European hornet inside of the hive and go, "Hey, I wonder what happened here last night." And that's exactly what happened during the day. And so that is a protective mechanism that the honeybees have. Another thing is to reduce the entryway of the hive. And at this point, most everybody should be at a small opening of about 1 inch entryway coming into the hive. So an entrance reducer during this time of the year is absolutely critical to have, and it will help defend the hive as well as keeping the warmth within the hive on that. All right, so Brian, we're going to move on to skunks here, and skunks are really something that most beekeepers don't see because they're out at night. And being out at night, what they will do is if a hive does not have an entrance reducer on the hive itself, they will take their tail and wisp it through the entryway. And of course, then the honeybees will grab hold of the tail trying to sting it, and the skunks will come by and just eat those honeybees up as they're on their tail. So using an entrance reducer and keeping your hive off the ground is a big plus for keeping skunks getting into your hives there. All right, raccoons. Raccoons are notorious working at night, obviously, and they'll pull the cover of the hive off, and you'll see a couple of frames pulled out and thrown on the ground. That should not be conflicted with a bear. The raccoons will have a small markings on the comb where they'll also use their front paws as well as their teeth to get any kind of nectar that they can or honey within the hive itself. One way of keeping the raccoons out completely is one, keeping them on a hive stand, and two, tying down the top or the outer cover of the hive down to the hive stand itself. So those are really biggies when it comes to securing your hive for raccoons on that side. Now, I've had, and I'm sure several of you watching tonight have had bear issues. Now, let's just talk a little bit about bears. Bears normally come for our hives in late spring where there's no resources for them to eat. It's well before the blackberries come into season. So they're going to be hitting bird feeders. They're going to be hitting garbage cans in our hives. And there's nothing better for the bees than to get in and get the honey that's stored within the hive itself. The thing that I will tell you about bears is they'll come for one or two hives, and then they'll come back another night very shortly thereafter and hit another couple more hives. They will not give up attacking your apiary until all of the hives are basically just raided by the bears. Brian, there was a time that we had a bear that would come out to the edge of the field and watch us, just waiting for us to leave so that he could have his way with the hives. And it was.
I think you've told this story before. It's the one that winds up with you paying a fine at a local court somewhere. Best I remember.
Yep. $200. But hey, $200 was peanuts versus losing 100 hives.
Yeah. He's not bothering the hives anymore.
On that there.
How's that rug? You guys enjoying that rug?
The game warden came and got that rug. And so anyhow, what I would highly suggest is using a mesh solar fence. And those mesh solar fences do a really good job, because the minute the bear hits their nose on it, they're going to get a nice 1200 watt pop on the nose, or even greater, depending on what your solar fence rating is. And you can pretty much bet that the bears will be there in the evening, early evening, midnight, or even early morning. I know, Brian, here we've got about 4 or 5 bears here in the county. And
we have them up in my neighborhood. In fact, on a community chat, everybody was saying, okay, we've spotted more bears over here in the garbage cans.
The biggest thing is if you see bird feeders torn down off the deck, that's the first sign is, hey, we got bears in the area, and it's time to get the mesh fence out if it isn't already. And, every Department of Natural Resources over bears, and they do have traps. I was told that these traps were all in use, and they didn't have one for me. And I would just say, work with your local sheriff's department. They will be able to guide you in helping save your hives. It might take having to shoot a bear, but they will be back and back and back. I think ours, Brian, ran almost a week, hitting 2 to 4 hives a night.
And if I can jump in real quick, about 4 or 5 years ago, I had a bear on my property, and that's what I did. Contacted DNR. They probably one of the traps that you wanted was on my property.
Well, good.
And I happened to be out on the deck when I heard a big rustling in the tree line, and I had my phone with me, as we all do, and I was able to film the bear going inside of the trap, grabbing the sardines, and then lowering down that gate. And all the kids in the neighborhood came over, and it's like, don't poke the bear, don't poke the bear. But yeah, DNR is a great resource.
We even had one walk right by our generator at our store. And
that was recently. I think I saw something on Facebook where you photographed a bear right outside the back of the warehouse.
Yeah, if you want to see that, folks, look deeper on Facebook on our post somewhere around June. I want to say that was there. But anyhow, get DNR involved in it, and hopefully there'll be a resource that helps you through it. All right, so if I'm talking about pests, I got to get back on my bandstand here and talk about Varroa. Varroa is a commonplace pest that is in all the lower 48 and including Australia. And if you remember, Australia had Varroa free until 2 years ago. And now Varroa is prevalent through most of Australia now. But Varroa will use the honeybee as a host, and it will infuse that honeybee with various viruses. Uh, those viruses then are given to other bees, and right here is just a little uh, chart of what happens. Right here's the Varroa right there, and you can see it right there, and two there, and there. What happens is the Varroa comes in and it becomes a host right here the honeybee becomes a host, and as the honeybee matures, so doesn't the Varroa. And by the time it gets to this stage, um, the bee has already been infused with various viruses at that point. So what happens is the bee flies off and does its foraging another 20 or 30 days later, and it's spreading those viruses to other hives, Brian, that are allowing drift, which means one honeybee goes to another hive and goes in there and makes itself at home, and then goes to another hive. Well, as that bee is drifting, so does the disease. So these diseases are what's the the nuclear meltdown within the hive itself, and all it takes is a high load amount of Varroa and the virus, and you'll have a complete dead out on that hive, as well as most of the other hives within the apiary itself. Brian?
I am seeing some questions come in, so just let me know at what point you want me to start
All right, well-
activating some of those.
Well, what
and-
we'll do here is we'll go through this last slide here, Brian.
All right.
And then we'll open it up for the
So,
questions.
folks, we have not forgotten about you. Thank you for asking those questions. Go ahead and get those in, and then here in just a few minutes, we'll do some rapid fire with Ray and hopefully get to your question.
So with all the pests, we've always said tonight that how do you get around this problem? Well, with Varroa, we found that non-chemical treatments such as Formic Pro, Apiguard, oxalic acid are all very good products to use, but each of them has a little bit of a drawback. So with the Formic Pro here, you can't use this above 90 degrees during the whole time that you're treating. So folks that are in the South, they can't do a treatment until late September. So you might want to look at Apiguard here as there is no temperature ceiling with that. And oxalic acid is a good for vaporizing and also using as a drizzle in December and January, just to make sure that there's no Varroa that is going to go into the new season on that there. Another thing would be is using a screen bottom board. The screen bottom board is a mechanical way for treating for Varroa. So as the bees hygienically clean each other, they fall off, and they don't fall on a solid bottom board, but they fall through the screen. And when they fall through the screen, they're officially outside of the hive. So that is a really good way to mechanically treat for Varroa. Now, most losses are seen October through to December and during the first hard frost. Now, let's talk a little bit more on October. October is typically when we see the crash. The load is so high within the hive that they just lose in numbers, and when it comes to the first hard frost, they freeze out and die because there's not enough of them to huddle up and keep warm. I know of a commercial beekeeper that was really starting to do well in handling a certain type of bee, and he was saying to a lot of groups, both locally and statewide, and in the southeast, that this particular bee was so hygienic that he wouldn't have to ever treat for Varroa. And he was able to get away with that for about 2 years. And then Varroa became evident and he had about 600 hives at the time. And before he knew it, he had lost a yard here, lost a yard there, at 50 to 60 in each of the yards. And before the season was over, he was down to less than 100 hives, active hives. The rest were dead outs because of Varroa. And, he sent those off to the bee lab and to two bee labs because he didn't like the report on it. And it came back Varroa and nothing less, nothing more. And he said, well, I'll prove myself right. And he did it all over again of rebuilding his yards for a year or two. And again, Varroa came back in, and because he did not treat and lost a good 75 to 80% of his bees. Folks, don't be part of that crowd. Spend a couple extra dollars, treat your bees, and you'll be really good and strong going into the next season on that. Now, Brian, what questions do we have here?
All right. We'll see if we can throw these up on the screen for you as well. Jeffrey wants to know about removing small hive beetle traps for the winter. When's the best time to remove those?
Well, the small hive beetle traps are typically going to be still really well used right on through December. Those will be on the top, right where the brood is going to be, because by now the queen has made her way up to the top of the hive to keep the warmth. As warmth rises up through the hive, that's where they're going to camp out now. The queen and all of the brood that will be laid will be in the top part of the hive. So being on the top part of the hive also means that the small hive beetles are also going to be there too to keep warm. And so keeping your traps there through at least late December is highly advised. And I would keep them personally on until I saw no evidence of small hive beetles.
Okay. Amanda wants to know what's better, plastic hives or wood. She has seen both in use, and she's getting back into bees or going to try bees coming up in 2025. And I also just want to remind people, Ray will have some information about seasonal price increases on bees here in just a moment.
All right, Amanda, here's where I fall on plastic versus wood, and I've tried it both ways, and it just seems like the plastic hives that are out there are great insulation sources, but it's also a very abnormal surface for our bees. So I have not seen explosive growth within a plastic hive where I would see it into a wooden hive. I just there's got to be some bee science behind that within their DNA and everything, but they like to coat the whole inside of the hive with propolis, and it's just a little bit harder with the plastic hive for them to do that, and you'll see it kind of spottingly on those plastic hives.
A lot of people are indicating they'd love to see some starter hives on sale for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So keep that in mind. Have you ever heard of an assassin beetle? Is that another name for a small hive beetle, or is there a pest known as an assassin beetle? And
well, let me look that up here, Ryan. They might be calling it something different.
Okay, of course, Michael, if you're still with us, you can provide some additional details on that. Maybe some other folks can chime in the chat as well. What in the world is an assassin beetle? Is that a thing?
Let's see here. Yeah, it is.
Okay.
All right. Okay. You got me, Michael. I have not had any kind of run-in with the assassin beetle, and Brian, what I'm seeing is it's orange and black, and it's something that I have not seen ever before. So you got me on that one. You stumped me, Michael. Let's give Michael a Buzz TV shirt.
I'm writing that down right now. Michael Robinson. you get a T-shirt. How
Yep.
about that? Very cool. So,
Congratulations, Michael.
reach
You
out
got
to
me.
us with
You
some
got me
contact
good.
information, and we'll help you out there. Now, what about the entrance reducer keeping mice out?
Yes,
Is that a good
Yep.
approach?
Yeah. Entrance. Okay. When people have problems with mice, typically it's because they don't have an entrance reducer in, and mice can squeeze into that 1/4 inch to 2/3 of an inch opening within the hive. So again, what you'd want to do is put that on the winter side, which is the inch opening by roughly a half inch high, if not a little less, depending on where you've gotten your entrance reducer. But the bottom line is that yes, that does keep the mice out, and you'll be much happy about that. Thank you, Deneen.
Sometime we're going to have to do a Stump the Chump segment. We'll
Oh
have
no,
to have
I know
people.
everybody will get me on that one. I know.
Have you ever heard of bee candy?
Yes. Yes.
So what is bee candy to novices like me who've never heard of it? And is that a good way to support bees as winter feed?
Okay. Well, what most people call bee candy is basically sugar and some water that's mixed together and make some candy. But what I would strongly suggest is using a pollen patty that has some amino acids in there and some like lemongrass oil, some of the tea tree oil on that there. Those are very, very good for the gut of the bee during the winter months. And the pollen obviously is a good treat for them too at the same time. So pollen patties are great. We do sell pollen by itself, so you can make your own at home if you so choose. Or we have pollen patties. Just go to the magnifying glass on our website and put in pollen patties, and you'll see what we sell. We sell them by the case, and we'll have those shipped out to you within 24 hours.
All right, that was from Here We Go Round. Our next question from Greg, and he's asking about a product called sweeping sugar. Again, one of those terms that I'm not familiar with. Is that something that that Mountain Sweet Honey offers? Are you familiar with sweeping sugar to make bee syrup from?
I have not.
It
heard
is Stump
of,
the Chump night.
Yeah. Everybody's getting me tonight. What I prefer to do, folks, is, maybe this is sugar that has fallen on the floor and they sell it for discounts, Brian.
I think you mentioned that once before,
Yeah.
that sometimes different sugar cane factories will have a surplus sugar that was spilled at some point
a
in the
railroad spill or
process, a
something like
railroad
that.
spill, and
Yep.
you can get it at a discount price. But that apparently not something for sale at Mountain Sweet Honey. So, sorry, Greg.
Now, what we're going to be doing, Brian, and we've put our order in, is having syrup available in a 1-gallon container, and we're going to test market this for the next season here, all the way up through May of next year, and get some feedback from you guys and let us know what you think of it. It does have the amino acids and tea tree oil in it there too. So really good stuff to feed your bees there. I would be really careful with knockoff sugar, just simply because you don't know what else is in there. Was there other chemicals that were introduced during the spill of that sugar, or what really happened to make it a discounted sugar? So
that's a good point.
That would be my take on that there, because we spend so much money on getting our hives together, getting our bees ready to go. And the last thing we want to do is have some kind of foreign substance that's going to set our bees back. So that would be my position on that.
I was teasing the seasonal price increase on packaged bees a moment ago. Before I fire up the next question, what do people need to know about that?
Yeah. What we do is we offer our bees at discounted rates and until it gets to the season. And what this is every month our price goes up on our bees as seasonal price increases. So the best time to buy bees from us is in June on our opening day. we sell them at a great price. And if I remember right, Brian, it was $119, wasn't it?
That sounds correct.
Yeah. And each month it goes up, and until we get into the season, which is full price. So we try to encourage folks to buy your bees early and get the best dates and the best prices. So it's a win-win for you. And also, if you buy today, and hedging that you might lose a hive or two during the winter months, you can buy it today and have that banked. And if you go out and check it in the end of January and the bees are healthy, just as long as you cancel before February the 1st, we give you 100% of your money back and celebrate with you that you don't have to replace any bees from the winter months. So that is fee-free. So you get 100% of your money back.
All right, cool. Michael provided some additional context on those assassin beetles. First, he says, thanks for the T-shirt. He says, these bugs have been on top of my hive, and I've caught them eating the bees. He says they're also known as kissing bugs. So I don't know if the term kissing bug means anything to you or not, but
it doesn't.
We'll have to do some additional research on that.
Yes.
Now, Davis is back in his first year of beekeeping, and he's got some ventilation questions about that balance between enough ventilation, enough airflow, yet allowing the bees to stay warm.
Well, Davis, one of the things that you want to do is, if you're here in Georgia, that there's about four climatic zones. So I don't know what part of Georgia you're in, but once you start seeing the temperatures going down into the 40s at night, lower 40s, you want to move your telescopic cover and close it against your inner cover gap that's there, that's notched out. And at that point, it really reduces the heat loss within the hive itself and contains the heat or the warmth within the hive so that the bees can stay warm during the evening hours. So,
and here is a corollary that he has about the screened bottom boards being partially open. What should he do? What adjustments does he need to make there?
All right. On screen bottom boards, folks, always keep them closed. The bees need to have moisture outside the hive because they're trying to convert nectar into honey. And this is very, very important. A lot of people think that they need ventilation. That's not true. And just the notch in the inner cover is sufficient enough for the ventilation within the hive. So opening that up at any degree is not recommended on that.
Looks like Joshua might have a mystery on his hands. He had a hive that had some activity, and the same hive, I guess right next to it, had zero activity and a few dead bees on the ground. He's sort of wondering who done it. What has happened here?
Yeah, Joshua, this is quite common when there's 2, 3, 4, or 5 hives within your apiary. What you'll find is the bee, there was some catastrophic event with the queen in the hive that is vacated. It could be Varroa. It could be that the queen was out of eggs and she died. It could be 100 different things. But what happened was the remaining amount of bees that were in there migrated over to this other hive, making it very robust. And there's times, for example, when a beekeeper is pulling out a frame and rolls the queen. And when you roll the queen, now the queen is not going to be able to do her duties within the hive. And what will happen is that migratory route to another hive. And most of the time, the other hive has a very high pheromone queen. And so they really go right on in there. And how they are able to do that is the queen's pheromone of the hive that was struggling. She's dead, and there was no pheromone on those bees. So they were welcomed in to the new colony because of no pheromone from the previous hive that they were with. I hope that answers your question, Joshua.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Steve, who is one of our longtime listeners, first-time callers, glad to see us active in helping the folks devastated by the hurricane. And I'm just throwing his comment up for you folks. just to encourage you that if you didn't catch the first part of the show, or if you did, we do have a link available in both the Facebook as well as the YouTube chat sections where we're taking donations that Mountain Sweet Honey is matching dollar for dollar to help people get back on their feet there.
Steve, thanks for your kind words there. We're not into this to make a name for ourselves. We're just trying to help fellow human beings that have been hit right beside the head with nature. And that's what my driving force is with us here at Mountain Sweet Honey, is to help our fellow man in a time of need. And I can't think of a better time in a need at this point of the colder weather coming in, Brian, and no water.
Yes.
I heard a lot of people when Helen came through here, they were out of power, and a lot of people complained. And I was talking to my banker, and she looked at me dead eyeball to eyeball, Brian, and she said, "I will never, ever complain about the power being out after what I've seen up in North Carolina."
I was one of those people whose power was out for 48 hours. Yeah. My internet was out for a week.
That was the one that hurt.
Well, it did, but it put it into perspective that here I'm, upset because I can't access the internet, and there's people whose lives have just been, turned upside down. Their lives completely turned upside down. So Gavin's got a question. You'll see it there on the screen. He wants to know about frames that are pulling apart inside the hive. Do you ever come across that phenomenon?
All right, Gavin, most likely what you got is you've got a lot of propolis. Propolis is like glue. And when you go to pull that frame on up, it is there to stay, and it will come apart. What I would suggest Gavin doing is not only stapling, but also gluing each of the sections that come together. Just put a dab of what is it called? It's tight bond glue, and that tight bond glue will do wonders in keeping your frames together. I would also scrape the frames with my hive tool and help reduce that, and also breaking those hives from the propolis before I pull them out of the hive too would be highly recommended on that too.
If it's okay with you, I'll take this next question about the best way to fight yellow jackets. I think a 4-3 defense running covered. Oh, not those yellow jackets.
Brian, go home.
As a Bulldog fan, yellow jackets have been pests for years, and that is the topic on tonight's show. But regarding your bees and your beehive, what do you suggest?
What I have seen works best is you get a bag with a narrow entrance, and typically you can use them for flies or for wasp or hornets or yellow jackets, and put a hot dog in there. And that will really attract those yellow jackets in. The best way, though, is to blow a little bit of flour on one and see where they're going back into the ground. And then that night, go on ahead and light them up with some gasoline and be done with them. Normally, those are within eyesight of the hive, and typically within 100 feet of the hive, typically.
Davis, again, we had some questions from him earlier. Of course, he's apologizing. Don't apologize. We love the questions. That's why we do Buzz TV. And his question, as you can see, regarding the sugar water over the winter. I know this is one of your passions, helping people get this equation correct.
All right, Davis, he was from Georgia, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what I would say, Davis, is one, I would go to a 1 to 1.5 sugar water, being that you're here in Georgia. I would not go to a 2 to 1. First of all, the 1 to 1.5, I would do the 1st of November. And because you want to slow down the queen on her brood laying. Now, the next thing is you can dry out with a Sericel feeder. You can empty out that sugar water and put a pollen patty in there, whatever you might want to choose. But if you do that, you have to take the center dome out and each of the 4 corners out, so the bees have direct access to the pollen patty there. And do I remove the blue insert? That is a clear insert. The corners and the center, that center dome is the ones that you will pull out, but the blue will stay in to the frame, and that will keep everything airtight there.
I've seen this question a few times about Swiffer sheets and small hive beetles.
Yes.
Is that effective, or is there a more effective treatment you might recommend?
If I was to use a Swiffer sheet, Clyde, I would want one unscented, like you've proposed there. If you put a scented sheet in there, your bees are going to hate you. They're gonna attack you the minute you open up the hives. So I would use unscented, and there's been some research out there that does work with small hive beetles. They have jagged back legs and front legs, and they get caught onto these Swiffer sheets, or a dryer sheet would work also. But those are ones that have worked. There's no bait with them, so the small hive beetle has to walk across it to be able to get snagged up on it.
All right. This might be the most interesting handle of the evening. No worries, bees and weenies. Okay.
All right.
And a quick question about, I guess, oxalic acid vapor treatment.
All right. Yes, you can do oxalic vapor treatments anytime that you would choose. Now, in December and January, you could use a sugar water oxalic acid drizzle on the top of the frames on the top of the hive, and that works very, very well for a midwinter type of treatment. Let's see, would I like to see deep?
Yeah, I think these are some of the items that they'd like to see
right.
for our Black
Gotcha.
Friday, Cyber Monday. Go ahead and make a notation there in your cell phone to come back at 9 a.m. the day after Thanksgiving, 9 a.m. on Cyber Monday. Those are two of the biggest sale days of the year, and we're taking your suggestions on what items, along with bees, that should be discounted. I'm sure Ray, being a numbers cruncher guy, will go through all of this, and we will bring you your best deals of the year on those 2 days.
Now, Brian, I want to talk about our National Beekeepers Boot Camp. We had a really strong turnout. Folks, it was right after Hurricane Helene came through. We still didn't have power here, and we were fortunate enough that we bought a generator years ago, and this was the first real test of that generator. And we were able to run all the lights, and just like we were on regular power. And we just got a wonderful feedback from all of our attendees. We're limiting it to 200 people for this boot camp. It's February 8th, so it's still going to be a little frosty outside. It will be in Toccoa, Georgia. Now, you guys that are snowbirds, come on down and see us thaw out and enjoy some warmer weather, because typically it gets up into the low 50s, mid 50s in that early part of February here in Northeast Georgia. It's an all-day event, goes from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And I'll tell you this, folks, every camp that we have had, we've just gotten a really strong sense that folks walked away with a lot more knowledge in their tool belt of beekeeping, and it just really thrills us that we were able to equip folks to go out and really flourish in their hobby of beekeeping.
It truly is a master class. I've attended 2 of these now, and highly recommend it. Mark that date down, February the 8th, limited attendance. And at what point will registration be open?
It is open right now. So go on, it's $70, and you get a book, you get your lunch. And so it's a great value on that there. And you will walk away with a smile on your face. If not, come see me and I'll give you a refund right on the spot. And folks, out of the thousands that we have done, we've not had one taker yet.
Nobody's ever done that. Well, we're close to the 1 hour mark. Do you want
Yep.
to take a few more questions? Do you want to give away bees?
I want to talk about the road show, Brian.
Oh, yeah, the road show.
You
what
know,
you got?
Nikki and Kendra went up to Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and to their bee expo up there, folks. And they were so warmly received during this 2-day event. And I just want to say thank you to all those in Tennessee for your hospitality. These gals loved every minute of it. And we just appreciate how y'all showed out to see us on that there. Now, Brian, let's change back to Q&A. And you have a couple more?
Yeah, I've got a couple of more questions.
Let's go
in fact, Michael is buying some bees from Mountain Sweet Honey. He wants to know, do we start out with 2 deeps immediately after putting the bees in the hives? If so, do you put your frame feeder in the top deep?
Okay, Michael, one thing that you have to do is control how much room your bees will have. So you're only going to start out with 1 deep and put your feeder, either a top feeder or a frame feeder or a Boardman feeder on the hive. I strongly recommend the Ceracell top feeder so that the bees can comb out all the frames and you don't have anything in their way. And when they get to 70% of the frames filled, which if you have a 10 frame, if 7 of them are filled, that's when you will add your second super on at that point. So that is my recommendations for you there. And I really wish you the best luck going into the new season.
I do love seeing so many new and first-time beekeepers chiming in. That is why we are here. Make sure that you are on the mailing list for Mountain Sweet Honey at mountainsweethoney.com. When you visit the site, there's an opportunity that pops up that lets you put in an email address so that you can get access not only to great savings that we offer, but the education. We have quite a library that answers many of these questions, a video library that Ray has done of teachings and different segments over the years. It's a wonderful resource. But Felicity is going to be a new beekeeper, and she wants to know about getting those bees into a new hive. How do you do that?
All right. I got a video. And if you go on to our education page, and you'll see a video that we have there that's, I believe it's a 15-minute video that takes you from receiving the bees and to putting them in and how to get the queen cage properly installed into the hive so she's tucked in for the next 3 days and she'll come out within 3 days just like clockwork. I would highly recommend just going on our website and getting that because it is very detailed and it's something that you can put on your smartphone as you're installing your bees and start and stop it. And it will help you step by step on that there. But I would highly recommend watching it 2 times. And then the 3rd time being that you watch it while you're installing your bees.
Cool. Ben wants to know about wax moths. Is there a way to trap them or how do you deal with wax moths in your hives?
All right. Wax moths are the last to the party. Whenever there's a problem, they are the last to the party and they make a mess. Same thing with small hive beetles. Far as I know, there is not any really viable trap that's out there. The biggest thing I would say is use an entrance reducer so it allows your guard bees to keep these guys on out. But typically the wax moths come in after the collapse of the hives. So as beekeepers, we want to get there before the collapse and make sure that everything is right within the hive. If not, then to add bees, take bees from other hives and add it in to help support the population for that hive there.
I am ready to give away a package of bees.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so let me get the computer going here. And it looks like our winner is Logan Lecter. Logan Lecter.
Well, congratulations, Logan.
Yeah. All right, Logan. Yeah.
Where is he from?
I'm not sure where he is from. He's watching us on Facebook tonight.
All right.
And he made a comment. He made a comment earlier that those kissing bugs are Michigan stink bugs, and of course we have those stink bugs around here.
They don't look
this time
like
of the year.
Though.
No, that was a very interesting looking picture there. But we want to thank everybody that took the time tonight to to check in with us. How awesome was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a great time.
It was a good show, Brian. And folks, we're going to be back on Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Nikki's going to be with us, which is always a joy to have her here in the studio. And we're going to have some other employees too that have never been part of this, helping us pull this off, Brian. And it'll be fun for everybody.
It's a big show, so don't miss it.
Lots of savings.
We're not kidding when we say that you're going to save a lot of money. We're going to have a lot of fun, a lot of education along the way.
We're going to raise money for beekeepers that have lost everything.
Yeah, if you saw that, in fact, I'll pull it up one more time here. Just these beautiful handcrafted, hand-painted Shasta originals, starter hives that have some of the scenery from Western North Carolina, an area that we cannot wait. We've already been helping out, but we can't wait to do even.
I think I saw a caterpillar too, the state caterpillar or something, or state insect that she had there on going up a tree there that I hadn't seen.
Yeah, very,
before.
very well done. Very, very creative. Make sure you're following along at Mountain Sweet Honey, mountainsweethoney.com. Please connect with us. Thank you to Mountain Sweet Honey for being the sponsor of Buzz TV. Do all the things that help the algorithm, the like, the follow, the subscribe, the share, the send us your routing number for your bank account, whatever.
Brian.
Whatever. Yeah, all right. You know what I'm saying. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. We appreciate you. Thanks for all you do to help us get the word out. And
all right. Well,
any closing thoughts?
No. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you on Black Friday.
Bye.